visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most viral knockout ever. We're sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up, warm up.
Some
I know one thing.
8-year-olds. I got
If
the
I find
8-year-olds
out
in there.
anything, if I
And
find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass, and I'm gonna beat Jaden on Love on my mama. I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass.
For them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Gervonta Davis erupted after Jake Paul allegedly claimed he'd knock him out in only 3 rounds, a statement that added real stakes to the already heated buildup. Critics and insiders argue this fight places Davis's reputation on the line, as it's unusual for a boxer of his caliber to face such a mismatch, and a loss would spark serious doubts. Meanwhile, if Davis manages to overcome the hype, size, and power advantages Paul possesses, the victory would be unforgettable, a defining moment that could shape how boxing fans remember him forever.
Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah. But if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion, multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public, so there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing. And I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind you?
Jake Paul has raised the stakes by declaring he'll deliver the knockout of the year when he faces Gervonta Davis. He's making it clear this isn't just another fight he wants, a moment that commands headlines. His bold statements show he views this bout as a chance to prove himself, silence doubters, and carve a place in boxing history that can't be overlooked. By promising the biggest knockout, Paul isn't only relying on his power but also on spectacle, turning this clash into something larger than just winning.
Because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're gonna see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head to head with an amazing card. World championship fights back to back to back. And that's just how the MVP way we do it. And I'm going to come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
Rolly Romero has shared his thoughts on the possible impact of a Jake Paul knockout over Gervonta Davis, arguing it wouldn't significantly damage Tank's legacy. He pointed out that Davis is already a 3-division world champion and one of the most respected fighters in boxing. In Instagram Reels and Romero stressed that a single loss, even a dramatic knockout, can't erase years of accomplishments, championship titles, and dominance across multiple weight divisions.
Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all that stuff, right? At the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Fact.
Right or wrong.
Fact.
So just do what's best for you.
Romero provides a grounded perspective on the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis matchup, arguing that no matter the outcome, Tank's legacy remains intact. As a multi-division champion with major accomplishments, Davis has nothing left to prove by defeating Paul. Still, Romero doesn't overlook the challenge. He acknowledges that Paul's size gives him a genuine physical advantage. While the size difference is a valid factor, it doesn't diminish the legacy or the years of dominance Davis has established in boxing.
From him, but like Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or it's an exhibition. We don't know if they throw at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were, like, to beat him or even, like, knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Daniel Cormier appeared visibly shocked upon hearing that Gervonta Davis would face Jake Paul. In a recent short clip, DC called the matchup ridiculous, describing it as a mismatch and questioning why a high-level professional like Tank would agree to fight an influencer boxer. He admitted he never expected a crossover bout like this for someone of Davis's caliber. Cormier also voiced concern about the size and power differences, wondering if the spectacle might end up overshadowing the integrity of Tank's accomplished career.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas. When Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul, I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is, but he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI has criticized how hype and spectacle often dominate crossover boxing matches, arguing that they blur the line between genuine sport and pure entertainment. In a recent video, he called out Jake Paul for ruining influencer boxing, suggesting that many of Paul's promotional tactics twist narratives to attract attention instead of focusing on real athletic competition. He added that AJ and Jake were never about skill alone. It was always about generating headlines and selling a story.
AJ and Jake was never going to happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it actually going to happen? Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know. Well, okay, how do I say it like this? Atoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Atoma. That record says a lot. Atoma's like 18, not 18, Atoma's 20, inexperienced, one run. Like, I just knew Atoma was going to just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Atoma would be him and Wilder.
Journalist Gareth A. Davies has voiced strong concerns about the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, calling it yet another instance of boxing valuing spectacle over substance. He argues that the significant weight disparity and the exhibition nature of the bout compromise the fairness and competitive integrity that the sport is built upon. While Davies acknowledges the matchup will likely draw mainstream attention and generate major revenue, he warns that such events risk diminishing boxing's credibility as a serious and respected athletic competition.
I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week, £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul. But 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this, you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that, do I mean Charlie Brooker? No,
Baker.
Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that Gervonta Davis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up. Everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner in that fight?
Tank has openly admitted several concerns about his upcoming fight with Jake Paul as the event draws near. He frequently mentions Paul's power, saying he needs to find out just how hard Jake can actually punch. He's also wary of Paul's size, reach, and the way he uses those advantages, noting that he's never faced someone with such attributes in a matchup like this. Tank recognizes that Paul moves differently and possesses a mental toughness that has unsettled past opponents, all factors he knows he must prepare for. Still, despite those worries, Tank insists that on November 14th, he'll adapt in the ring, rise to the occasion, and give everything he's got. Supporters of the Paul versus Davis fight, however, argue that this matchup represents the evolution of boxing for younger generations. They highlight how Jake Paul, with his roots in social media and entertainment, has connected with a demographic often disconnected from traditional boxing. His rise has brought thousands of new, younger fans into the sport. People who follow him online, tune in for big events, and admire figures who blend athleticism with personality. Meanwhile, Gervonta Davis earns praise for his raw, authentic, and unapologetic nature traits that resonate deeply with younger audiences tired of overly polished, manufactured marketing.
4 years in the making, when a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they're putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concern me, his power. Gotta test his power. Gotta test his just everything, to be honest. I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot, but when it comes down to November the 14th, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, his arm reach, his size, his power, you know, the way he moving and things like that. I just gotta adapt, as I fight him come.
Nakisa Badarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has confidently dismissed concerns about Jake Paul's physical advantage over Gervonta Davis. He argues that size won't be a deciding factor against a fighter of Davis's caliber, emphasizing that Paul only requested the heavier catchweight due to his relative inexperience. Badarian also revealed that the Paul versus Davis fight wasn't a spontaneous decision. It had been in development for some time, especially after a planned bout with Canelo Alvarez fell through. According to him, Davis had been eager for the matchup for years, and once the Canelo negotiations collapsed, the path to Tank became clear.
Bro, Jake and Tank are going to happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, there's going to be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro exhibition. We're going to make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember, with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight. We didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's going to be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations were? And the reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight. And after his fight and his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight. And people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing? And has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't going to happen and came back? Or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. Now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
But Badarian acknowledges that the size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis is undeniable. Paul enters the ring heavier, taller, and with a longer reach. But Badarian maintains that Davis's superior skill and experience far outweigh those physical advantages. Tank has been a decorated professional for over a decade, competing at lightweight, earning multiple world titles, maintaining a near-perfect record, and delivering numerous knockouts. He's demonstrated adaptability, speed, elite timing, and the ability to hurt opponents through various fighting styles. Paul, on the other hand, though improving with each bout, has yet to face opponents of Davis's caliber. Meanwhile, debate rages across social media. Some fans accuse Davis of avoiding big-name opponents in favor of a more profitable matchup with Jake Paul, suggesting money is driving his choices more than competition. However, others argue that such criticism ignores what Tank has already achieved. With an undefeated professional record, multiple championships, and consistent victories over top contenders in his division, claims that he's dodging serious challengers only serve to downplay his established accomplishments.
Couldn't go ever fight with Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We got to think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was all right, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some trash, he was some trash. He ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end of the day.
But these criticisms often overlook what Gervonta Davis has already accomplished. He's captured multiple world titles, maintained an undefeated professional record, and delivered countless highlight reel knockouts that showcase his elite skill. Choosing a high-profile, attention-grabbing fight now doesn't erase those achievements or undermine the legacy he's spent years building. In today's boxing landscape where media, promotion, and entertainment weigh nearly as much as pure skill, there are many paths to greatness. Meanwhile, Jake Paul insists that championship belts don't define his career. He believes what he's done for the sport is already historic, breaking viewership records, producing massive pay-per-view events, and bringing new audiences into boxing by fusing it with social media and influencer culture. He's also scored victories over major names, including former UFC star Anderson Silva and even Mike Tyson in a sanctioned bout, moments that, for many, transcend traditional belt chasing. When offered an honorary WBA belt, Paul declined, saying he wanted to earn any real recognition through genuine merit, not be given it out of spectacle.
They'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. You know, but belts collect dust, and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time, just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
Jake Paul has already shifted his focus beyond Gervonta Davis, publicly naming Anthony Joshua as his next target. The announcement sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Some dismissed it as absurd, while others viewed it as a bold statement of ambition. Considering Joshua's elite resume, heavyweight pedigree, and massive size advantage, many insiders have labeled Paul's plan unrealistic. Still, the move aligns perfectly with Paul's established pattern, consistently seeking out high-profile opponents to elevate his status and strengthen his credibility within the sport.
Anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm going to kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm going to kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's going to go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah. And
he's going to go and fight a 140er and then move up, 135er, and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now, this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake Paul is going to be.
What do you think? Is this fight a smart career move for Davis or a dangerous gamble?